Our solar system is only one of billions, and in some galaxies, solar systems like ours is only one of trillions. It's nothing special, but naturally we all think we are special because we are most familiar with our immediate sensations related to the body and our emotional body and mind, and so it is with our planet as well. We are most familiar with it and totally unfamiliar in any true sense with other centers, even relatively close to us. In fact, we don't even really know what's going on subjectively in any of the planets, and they all have their life forms and their schools and their hierarchies and systems of evolution. We are very, very ignorant of the conditions which exist on planets and certainly on stars and constellations and so forth. We need a great deal of mental maturity and development during this very mental, intuitional age, the age of Aquarius into which we are entering. Maybe we will have another 20 lives or so during the age of Aquarius, and by that time we will certainly know a great deal more than we presently know. Mental maturity is required. Let's see here. There is another illusion. There are several illusions here of which the Tibetan is speaking. The zodiac may actually be a circle which does revolve. It's not an ordinary circle, but every entity within cosmos undergoes a type of revolution, and all of our chakras turn, and there's no reason why this chakra on top of the head should not turn as well. Now, the zodiac of constellations is this major head chakra of 12 petals in the great super constellational being we call the one about whom naught may be said, whose center may well be the Pleiades. So the idea that the zodiac may revolve in some way, the zodiac of constellations, is not totally far-fetched. But certainly the zodiac is not revolving around our sun as a center. If it is revolving, the Pleiades would be a more likely center of revolution, but even there are problems with distances of stars and so forth, which I don't think we should get into at this point. Suffice it to say, all chakras do revolve, and the zodiac of constellations is a chakra. Okay, let's move on just a little bit. I think I can send some of these notes to you. I don't think I will read them all with complete specificity because I think it would be a little bit tedious to do so. I've been pretty meticulous about this, but I don't see the reason in these discussions to get into it quite so fully. A few more points here about appearances and illusions. It would be hopelessly difficult to try to explain planetary motions and perspectives to the average individual. We need, one has to go to school for that, really. So the general public is not aware of these things. They are aware of astrology's impact upon them, and they want to live a more intelligent and more fulfilled life. That is what they care about, and not about all of the geometry and astronomy. So we don't bring all of that into our normal discussions. Therefore, the illusion is allowed to persist for the sake of an illusory clarity, as I've said. Now, the term the Great Illusion, it has many different meanings. From the largest type of perspective, the Great Illusion is really the universe itself. It is the great Maya, called the Maha Maya, and compared with ultimate reality, the entire phantasmagoria of all we experience is actually an illusion of the consciousness. In other words, it is not lasting, it is not real, it is evanescent, it is passing. Only one profound reality is changeless, and that is not the great illusion. So when DK is talking about the great illusion, he's dealing with a relatively local great illusion. And I would say the general principle here is that such an illusion is based upon what we might call false centrism. In other words, imagining that something is the center of everything when it's not. And of course, this has to do also with egocentrism and all of the illusions that it produces in the world of human relations. It has long been established that Earth is not the center of space, as the medieval consciousness thought it was. It's been established the sun is not the center of our of the cosmos. It may be the center of the solar system, but not of the cosmos. It's by no means the center of our perceived space, and not even our own galaxy, that vast aggregation of maybe 200 well, at least 100 billion stars, and maybe more. The estimates keep going up all the time, that not even our galaxy is the center of the cosmos, but is peripheral. So what really is the center? Well, for that we have to enter the world of being. The point at the heart of the world of being is the center of all things. So we are slowly during the Aquarian age, which is impending, becoming decentralized and more humble as a result, because we realize that we simply are not as important as we thought we were when we thought we were the center of everything. The big question in astrology: how can illusory movements which seem to exist but really do not exist, how can these illusory movements, which only present themselves to our consciousness but would not present themselves to an exteriorized greater consciousness, how can these apparent movements coincide with actual changes in the availability of subtle astrological and rheological energies? Because they do. According to these illusory movements, you know, the movement of the sun along the zodiac and the movement of the planets in relation to the different signs and so forth, they do correspond with the availability of astrological and rheological energies. So the point is, apparent motions coincide with actual impacts. This is simply the way it is, and maybe for all self-centered beings it is that way. And it's very hard not to be self-centered. Even if you had the consciousness of the entire galaxy, our entire galaxy, a decentralization of kind would be needed. So there's no way that we can possibly lift the great illusion from our eyes or from the eyes of even greater beings than ourselves, for they too are immersed in the illusion. But gradually the illusion can thin, and it will come about through what I would call a general decentralization, or the ability to transport the consciousness beyond its apparent ring past knot. Sometimes we say, okay, we are the skin-encapsulated ego, and you know, this is what I am. But when I can begin to exteriorize my consciousness and feel that I am as present there as I am here, then already I've expanded beyond the limitation of egocentricity, and I begin to appreciate group consciousness. And I can continue that process until it becomes possible to center the consciousness at any point within the enveloping sphere. One day the solar system, one day our local constellation, one day the super constellation, which is the body of expression of the great one about whom naught may be said, one day even the galaxy and beyond. So we've got to get out of our own skin, in a way, and that's very important. Exercises in decentralization have a lot to do with lifting the illusion. We learn that if we are ever to understand the divine plan as it really is, now, the word plan and planet are quite related. If we really want to know the plan, we have to know what the planets are doing. If we are ever to understand the divine plan as it is, it will require a restoration of astrology to its original beauty and truth, which has long been lost. The veil has dropped over the astrological science of the initiates and is only now being lifted little by little, and people such as ourselves and strong practitioners of this art are slowly lifting the veil which has been dropped over the truth of planetary and stellar and constellational relationships. So this should be then an adequate incentive for the study of this greatest and oldest of all the sciences. Now, this is preliminary material. It's the big picture. All of the specifics in which we are perhaps interested in will be found later in the book, but we have to get the larger picture here. Astrology is the greatest and oldest of the sciences. It's not yet an exact science, but there's great exactitude to it. If we were truly initiates, it is based upon a seeming, an illusion, an apparency, and yet this seeming, this illusion, this apparency actually correlates with the actual availability of subtle astrological and rheological energies. Okay, so that's the first statement. Let's go back here for just a moment, if I can find my way back here, and look at this first statement. Well, it's a long statement. That astrology is based upon, it's not exact, and it's based upon illusion, and there are many things that astrologers say which scientists cannot possibly accept because in terms of concrete knowledge they are very exact. And astrologers, for the sake of simplicity, allow certain illusions to persist because it's too complicated to explain it to the public mind. But if a very good astrologer were to get together with a very good scientist, they would each realize that the other is perceiving the truth, and certainly it would be so that the scientists would realize that the astrologers are not as scientifically ignorant as the newspaper horoscopes seem to make them. Okay, the second statement. Yes, we have time. We're going to do these in approximately 1 hour segments to make them somewhat digestible, and this will be a lot of recording. The second statement, which I would make, is that astrology is essentially the purest presentation of occult truth in the world at this time, because it is the science which deals with those conditioning and governing energies and forces which play through and upon the whole field of space and all that is found within that field. When this fact is grasped and the sources of these energies are better comprehended and the nature of the field of space is correctly understood, we shall see a far wider and at the same time a more closely related horizon. The relationships between individual, planetary, systemic, and cosmic entities will be grasped, and that is the great psychology, and we shall then begin to live scientifically. It is this scientific living which is the immediate purpose of astrology to bring about. Well, we are a long, long way from scientific living at this time,